Hello folks, my name is Rick. This is another edition of the ongoing collection of writings that describe a bit of my life and some of the characters I knew in the Peace River country back in the day. In 1960, my parents decided to get their kids out of the U.S. and find a different lifestyle than what they had in Salt Lake City, Utah. We moved to Dawson Creek and found some land, and after 25 years of back-breaking labor, the bank ended up with the land. This is that story. It's called The Dream. I was 5 years old. Seemed like we'd been forever in the back of that car going north. We're going to find a piece of land. Just follow that star. We're almost there, Mom said. Be good now. It can't be too far. To keep us quiet, she offered us a last dip into the cookie jar. We got to Dawson Creek, got a motel, and washed off the road tar. Found a house to rent. No toilet, no running water. That's bizarre. Trotting down the alley, I saw a moose hanging from a crossbar. Then I started school. It's Canada, so I learned to say au revoir. Coming home from school, ran into boys just waiting to attack. I tried to avoid them, but I learned the only way was to fight back. My mom didn't like it, but she grew up singing in the tabernacle. What are you gonna do, live in fear or kick him in the sack? She tried to bring us up gentle, but was there with the ice pack for our bruises to keep them from turning completely black. Always comforted us and tried to keep us on the right track, even though she left all behind and was living in a frozen shack. That spring, Dad and I, we took the Jeep to Lone Prairie, crossed the river on the ice bridge. Now that can be scary. Old Pioneer lent us some horses. Mine was a little contrary. So off we rode. Grizzly bears were waking. We had to be wary. We saw ptarmigan, sharp-tailed grouse, moose, dark and hairy. Got to the ranch side. It was only willows, swamp and wind, all airy. But it was the start of the dream. It was real. It was cherry. Then we went back, down the valley, crossed the ice bridge. No ferry. Next winter we moved to Lone Prairie, stuck in snow, couldn't move much. We walked the last mile, it was 35 below, fingers froze to the touch. Mom carried my baby brother, Dad brought bedding, food and such. Got to the cabin, got a fire going, held the blankets in a frozen clutch. Dad returned to the truck for essentials, it was all him, he had no crutch. But the fire got roaring, snow melted, we drank tea from cups made by the Dutch. But that cabin had holes between the logs, it wasn't much more than a hutch. It was a cold winter, birds dead on the bough, froze solid to the touch. We moved to the property that spring, started building on the house. By summer's end, it was clear it wouldn't protect more than a mouse. We went back to the States for the winter, away from bear and grouse. Returning, we found someone who tried to burn us out, the dirty louse. They stole our things, but the dream's now tarnished, they did not douse. So Dad started again. Lucky he had Mom, she was such a good spouse. Feelings of anger, resentment, and retribution in most this would rouse. Not Dad. Tolerance, acceptance, and understanding he'd espouse. So we worked and we built, but we were always just a little too late. A little late sowing grain in the ground meant a snowy harvest date. Late harvest meant winter's coming. We had no wood for the grate. Cut and haul wood for the stoves, now midwinter's a date. Whoops, the house is not finished. Need more wood, that's our fate. A little late fixing that fence meant chasing cows back through the gate. Too busy to finish the barn, now I got dead calves for coyote bait. Lost calves, no cash, can't buy good equipment, can't meet the bank rate. Home from school one afternoon, I realized something stank. Mom and Dad had gone to sell calves to get money for food in the bank. 3 men were chasing our herd into the corral. This really smelled rank. I got my rifle and fired it in the air. They started yelling. I reloaded with a clank. I yelled, get off our property before I start aiming, and I'm not shooting blank. One said he had papers, gave him the right to take property for the bank. The banker knew no one to be home, that dirty, thieving, scumbag wank. They had a cattle truck. Could I do it over? I put a half a clip through their gas tank. Dad went to court and won that battle, but man, what a cost. If we had another victory like that, the war is lost. We got the herd back, more dead, our credit close to exhaust. Hard work and good intentions went out, right? What fucking choss. It seemed like we might gain ground, didn't see the river we had to cross. You don't see the future and over the cliff the present toss. You don't miss the good things so you suffer their loss. And then it's too late. Something you loved is gone. It's all chaos. A bit after that I became misguided. I got off on the wrong trail. I lost my way. I got in trouble with the law and ended up in jail. When I got home I was a hardened young man. I'd seen the road to hell. My folks were having troubles, cut fences, cows driven into crops. I didn't like the smell. I wasn't going to take it. I saddled up and drove those cows over hill and over dale. Got up early one morning, shot a nice yearling, chilled the carcass down the well. Good beef, sinful and sweet, a small payment from their side of the scale. I loved the ranch, I loved my folks, but I decided to find a different place to dwell. Dad didn't yet want to share the dream. He expected us to labor for free. I gave up trying to be part of it, helped when I could, but made time for me. Larry, Dad's son, seemed like they might find a way to agree to share the expenses, the work, the profits, but there was no guarantee. Till one day he gave a friend's brother a ride home. Kind gesture, no fee. He stayed the night. The house burned down, leaving only rubble and debris. The smoke hung in the valley, a thick band for all to see. The last of my brother drifted north, off towards the Beaufort Sea. It broke Dad's heart, Mom's as well, but she soldiered on and carried him too. The interest rates went through the roof, wasn't much they could do. Dad bought a tractor, the last you'll ever buy, said one of the sales crew. I'd like to think he didn't realize how his words would come true. Rain's coming, had to hurry, so Dad said thanks and bid him adieu. After the first trip round the field, Gene came back, smokestack, belching blue. The motor had blown, no time now to beat the rain, clouds blocked the view. It rained and it rained and it washed the last of the dream down into the slough. Dad sat down, looked around and thought, here comes the noose. No crop in the ground meant no feed come fall. That cooked the goose. So he gathered up all he had, sold it for what he could, no excuse. He paid all the smaller debts and went to the bank and said, it's just no use. I've tried the best I can. It seems no matter what hell happens, I just get more abuse. So here's the deed to the land. I'll leave just as soon as I can. This is not a ruse. 25 years of hard labor, sweat, and blood. The pain, it was profuse. Leaving with one less son, a few items from the house, it was more than the blues. So they gave up on the north, the freezing winters, the neighbors you couldn't trust. They moved down to the south. At least it was warmer, but find a life they must. Broken and beaten, no self-esteem, no money, just an old band starting to rust. They slowly began again, started a little business, made friends, started to adjust. Dad began running in triathlons. Who saw that coming? On him, there's no dust. Mom indulged her creative side, something for which she'd always had a lust. Just as self-esteem and happiness were building, Dad got dementia, so damned unjust. Mom's tired heart gave out, it was just too much. But right to the end, she never cried, never cussed. So what do we learn? Is there something we can take away from this story? Well, one thing's for sure. Hard work and fortitude don't always lead to glory. You can't work harder than as hard as you can, so don't give me your righteous Maury. And God, what a farce. If he's not dead, he's old and hoary. And gives a shit what goes on, good, bad, or if it's beautiful or gory. Don't just sit there and simper and pray. He doesn't give a damn for your sob story. Wish I could ask him to his face. Where you been for 2,000 years? Taking inventory? Promises of heaven, threatening hell. It's a twisted lie, and this ain't no allegory. So there you go, folks. That's the story of the dream. And I hope you liked it, and looking forward to your feedback. Thanks a lot.